everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is Sippin' Tea with Nat and Z. I'm Nat.
And I'm Z.
What's up? Happy February
Yeah.
or President's Day or
Black History Month.
Black History Month,
yes.
Black Love,
Yes.
Valentine's.
Yeah.
What else is going on in February? Anything?
Random. No, it's not a leap
year.
year. It's random acts of kindness. There's a random acts of kindness day somewhere in here in February. Galentine's Day.
Yes.
Which is the 13th. What else? It's just February. It's a short ass month. Basically. And it pushes us into March.
Spring.
Which is spring. So cheers to that.
Fabulous.
Cheers to that. So today's episode is about accountability. Who's going to check me, boo? I think this is, yes, I think this is a good, it's almost like a series because last week we dealt with growth. This week is accountability. Well, this episode is accountability. Next episode deals with guilt and shame. So this is all going to tie in very nicely in a neat little package.
Yes, which is fabulous.
Yes. Yes. So let's get into the tea of the day. We're not tea experts. Well, we are a bit of have experts in tea and what we like. Yes. But, we can't tell you, that this don't mix well with that medication. So you might want to talk to your doctor if you're going to add some herbal tea to your regimen. And I will say I have been trying to do more teas because I have PCOS. So I'm trying to find ways to kind of help with those conditions. So, but I still have to talk to my doctor because, again,
don't want to combine stuff.
It
really affects some things.
Right. So what are we drinking? Because I'm actually drinking this right now.
This tea today that is on the table is Sama lemongrass ginger. I love lemongrass and I love ginger. I have some lemongrass in my pantry that I need to boil down, actually. Anyway, I digress. So this particular tea helps detox and cleanse, which lemongrass is known for. You feel cleansed from the top to the bottom, from the rooter to the tutor, with the lemongrass and a ginger herbal tea. It's light and tangy with a crisp bite of ginger. And it's a powerful blend of cumin, coriander, and fennel of the CCFs. And it helps you feel best from the inside out. And anything ginger is great. Yeah. And lemongrass is medicinal in a lot of different ways, just to help with just settling your stomach and your just washing yourself out. And, it's good for everything.
It is. I enjoy this tea. Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, I'm just doing it. It's just been rough. Having PCOS and having the insulin resistant kind has just been very challenging. And it has been very taxing on my emotions because it's like, no matter what I do, I just cannot lose this weight. And I have to. It's not even at this point, it's a matter of it's not whether you would like to or not. You actually have to.
I'm right there with you.
I'm just like, I basically have to eat air to lose anything. And I actually got discouraged because I was eating, I did 2 weeks of almost clean eating and I gained 4 pounds. And I was like, wow, how did that happen? And I don't know. So I have to kind of trace back what I did. I don't know.
Where your hormones are? What's the hormone deal?
See, that's what the issue is. It's the hormones. It's the hormones.
Man, I'm in menopause, full-blown menopause now. So, and the hormone thing, and after the brain tumor and the pituitary gland situation, it will just mess up everything else. It's a trigger point for everything else.
Yeah.
So it sucks.
It does. And I've been trying to get my hormones under control, but it's just it takes a while. And sometimes some medications will work for some people that won't work for others. And some of the medication they gave me is not helping. I've been, so I've upgraded I've been taking B6. I had to get a stronger dose of vitamin D. I'm taking biotin because the PCOS is also thinning out my hair in spots. So I've been doing a lot of vitamins. I have metformin but I can't take the full recommended amount because it makes me sick to my stomach. And I'm on another medication that my doctor has given me that is once a week. So it's just, I'm struggling. And, there are days I get extremely discouraged because I'm like, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do and it's just not working. And this is a good topic because it's not a lack of me taking accountability, because I find where I need to take accountability. I'm like, bitch, you ate that damn bagel. So don't even, you understand what I'm saying? I had to learn how to take some accountability in my life about some of the unhealthy habits I was involving myself in when it comes to eating. So I'm still a work in progress. I'm still working with a nutritionist and my endocrinologist and just trying to figure out the best solution. Some of my hormones have balanced themselves out and some are just like, bitch, fuck you. We here to stay at this
level. Did you ask him if you're perimenopausal?
So I'm not. Okay. So we did do all that. I'm not. I'm still it's like one of those things. It's just like, what is it? Is it perimenopausal? Is it PCOS? Is it both? Until we can regulate things, we can't figure out what is actually happening. My whole point of this is like, I want to lose the weight that I'm set out to losing before I actually hit menopause, because at that point, bitch, it's out the window.
Girl, don't tell me that, because I can. I have goals. I gotta lose this weight and I'm in menopause.
Well, hormones, hormones they just do what the fuck they want to do. I've learned.
Because the whole little belly fat thing, they were like, oh yeah, when you're in menopause, you're gonna get and I've never had a belly, but I mean that's other stuff too. But yeah,
but that's the thing, like the belly. That PCOS, it goes to the belly, the waist, the hips. So my belly, I started to get my belly like, I started to see some actual results. So I don't know if the weight gain is more attributed to the exercises that I've been doing, and maybe I've been adding.
Muscle weighs more than fat.
Right. And I was taking magnesium, and magnesium is bone and muscle. So maybe that was helping my muscles tone up. But a bitch don't want to be what I be right now, okay? What I bees right now. So I'm happy for the muscles, but a bitch just wants to look like Ashanti on her worst day. That's all I'm asking
for. Like Megan Thee Stallion.
Right. I'm just trying to look like Ashanti on her worst day, okay? Let's get to that point.
Right.
Or Megan Thee Stallion. Like, I can do that too.
I wish these hormones would take some accountability.
I wish they would.
Leave us the hell alone. How about that? Take some accountability and leave us as your host alone, so I can lose this weight, as Reeva can lose this weight, and I don't have to have pop crashes every 5 freaking seconds. Whew, I was in the grocery store before. I had my hat and my jacket on, and I had to take that off, and walking through the thing with sweat pouring down my forehead.
See, no, I'm not ready for that life.
Yo, this is my third time in menopause. And the third time is not the charm, let me tell you. But I digress.
We're going to pray. We're going to pray and pray that these hormones take some accountability in their lives.
Please and thank you, because it's just rude.
It's very rude.
So rude.
It's very rude. So
complicating our lives. Anyway.
Yeah, and if you're a man listening, just be gentle and be mindful of the women in your life, because we're going through a whole lot. These hormones will wreak havoc.
The tiredness, the fatigue,
not
the memory loss, like the short term walk into a room and you're like, fucking come here.
Right.
And you don't remember. You really don't remember.
The headaches, the back pain, the cramp.
The hip be out of socket. You gotta wait and get up. And you're like, ugh.
I be getting up like Big Mama now. I'm like, ugh.
You gotta wait. You gotta sit there and wait for a second and sort of stretch. Then you finally get out of bed, and then you like walking like a zombie because you stiff.
Yes.
Lord.
Just be patient, okay? That's all we saying. Okay, so let's get into some hot tea. So the last time I think we recorded, I don't know if Chelsea Chris's death was if we talked about it or not, but I did want to mention it again because we're talking about a woman who appeared to be in the prime of her life. She was 30, and she committed suicide. And we've had these conversations surrounding depression a lot and anxiety. And one of the things that people don't talk about a lot is high functioning depression. That's something that I have. It's just like, it doesn't look like the person is depressed or has depression or is dealing with anything, but they are, because they've learned to mask their depression as other things. They've learned to mask their depression as busyness,
Yeah.
as, oh, I have
Yeah.
a lot on my plate, I'm doing a lot. They take on a lot because it's easier to deal with those things than to actually deal with the depression that
Mm.
you're feeling.
That
So
is so important that
it is.
how you said that I'm doing these things
Mm-hmm.
to put into my time
Mm-hmm.
so that I don't think about where my head is at. And I think that ties into, I think one of the articles you sent me about how Black women, we just always have something going on and on and top and top and top to be accountable to other people
Mm-hmm.
without taking accountability for what we need to do for ourselves.
Right.
And it masks and not to know to realize I have depression, but I'm masking it with these things.
Yes. And to understand that, I think also I would like people to understand that depression isn't sadness. Like, people like, and it's
Right.
not you being like crazy, or I wish we get away from these notions of like what you perceive depression to be and what you perceive the right and wrong way to deal with depression. I
Hmm.
mean, we had a conversation in a group chat about the manner in which she committed suicide. And it's just like, at this point, it doesn't matter how she chose to end her life. Let's focus on the fact that she made
Did
that
it.
decision and what led her to that decision, and what
Hmm.
can we do to prevent other young Black women from feeling as though that is the only decision that they can make in that moment.
Right.
That's the conversation that I want us to have. Because yes, she was gorgeous and she was beautiful, and on the outside, you look at her and think, oh, she has everything going for her. Why would she do that? And I wish that
Hmm.
people would stop putting their
Please.
perceptions on other people, because externally, it doesn't matter how somebody looks.
No, not at
It's the
all.
internal that really, 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 truly matters.
Mhm. And I think
Really.
also it's also a conversation about vulnerability
Mm-hmm.
because quiet as kept, because as women we always have 6 million things expected of us. We don't feel like we can ever be vulnerable enough to be like, I just can't
Mm-hmm.
today. I don't want to, or just like that commercial from BetterHelp. They're
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm not feeling out of it. And they're like, you should pick up golf. Okay, that's not really helping me get
Right.
through what I need to. And if someone says that to you, you're not going to be vulnerable to say, I'm really not feeling the way I need to be feeling right now. And I
Right.
don't, you know
Right.
what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
like, I think for us, sometimes it's a challenge, even with our friends, when we're going through things for us to convey something is off, or I'm
Mm-hmm.
just not feeling myself, or for you to be able to be vulnerable enough to tell someone that may prevent you from feeling that that's your only choice.
Right.
Do you know
And
what I mean?
yeah, and I appreciate the friends who actually allow themselves to be vulnerable enough with me to tell me that they are not doing well. And I had a conversation with a friend of ours recently just about some things. And it's actually about, setting boundaries for themselves, and how it's hard for them to do because they feel guilty, which is something we're going to talk about next week,
Mhm.
but, or next episode. But it's just like, we as Black women need to get out of feeling guilty for coming to a friend to say, I'm hurting, or going to a family member and saying, I need to set this boundary with you. And it's not about you, it's about me and my self-preservation. Because if I allow you to cross this boundary, I'm giving you pieces of myself that I just don't have to give. And it's not that I don't love you and I don't want to help you, I don't want to be there for you. I have
Mhm.
to be there for myself more now. Put
Right.
your mask on first.
Yes. Secure your oxygen mask first.
Yes, yes.
Please. Thank you.
Yes. So, just something to think about. There was an arrest made in Michael K. Williams' death. Yes, he died of an overdose, but there was video that showed the individuals who sold him the drugs that he took that caused him to overdose. The drug was actually laced with fentanyl, which actually caused his death. So I'm just saying, I don't judge. Just be mindful if you're out there doing
Mhm.
drugs, buying drugs. Just be mindful. Even I'm being
Yeah.
honest, even marijuana now,
Yeah.
I know that they've been lacing with fentanyl.
Yes. Gotta be
So
careful.
if you don't have a medical marijuana card,
Mhm.
I would just say maybe just unless you got I don't know.
Contemplate your choices.
Yes, because even smoking weed can take you out now. I mean, not the weed, but what they lacing it with. So just be mindful. And
potent stuff.
Yes. And talking about that, I'm going to just do some rearranging of the ordering. So Euphoria is a show that I watch on HBO, and it is about the drug culture. It's about the drug culture. Well, I'm not going to say it's about the drug culture. The drug culture is central to the storyline because Zendaya is a drug addict and she's like 16. She's in high school. I mean, but it talks about the lives of these teenagers and the things that they go through and the challenges that they face. And I'm like, thank you, Lord, for letting me be born in 1977, because a bitch could not make it today in the year of our Lord 2022 in high school. It would have taken me out. A bitch couldn't do it. I couldn't.
They're on some other stuff these days.
The Lord knew when to make my mama and daddy procreate to have me, because Jesus, these kids are struggling. And the thing is, it's hard to watch, but it's what's happening now. And these kids, we were talking back in my day. I know I sound like an old lady, but back in our day in high school, even in college, weed was the most I knew anybody would do. It was law school when I knew people was doing coke, and I was like, "What the hell is going on here?"
And weed was like, "Oh my god, did you know that?" And that was it. Like, stopped.
Right.
And then alcohol, alcohol.
Right. Like, okay. Exactly. And I'm not going to say when or where, because I ain't trying to incriminate nobody. But there was a time I was around some individuals who decided that they wanted to partake in the white powder, and they looked at me as if I wanted to partake in a white powder, and I felt offended because, bitch, do I look like a crack? I even said, do I look like a fucking crackhead? No, I don't want to do that. But again, that is not how people are living their lives today. I mean, Zendaya is in this show. She's on Oxy. This bitch was doing fentanyl. She was doing everything
all together.
She do it all. And I bring this up to say that bitch is doing a hell of a job. Zendaya needs, they said, I know that you don't get Oscars for TV shows, but they needed to make an exception and give her an Oscar. She played the last week. She played the hell out of that role. And I don't care. That episode should be mandatory in high school for drugs, like to keep people from drugs. Because if you watch that, bitch, you don't even want to pop a Tylenol. I don't want nothing. If this is what it does, I don't want nothing. Don't give me, I don't want Alka-Seltzer. I don't want.
Not Alka-Seltzer.
I don't want nothing.
Anderson. No, Anderson.
What's the powder? BC powder?
BC powder?
I don't want shit. I will deal with the pain however I can deal with it, because that is not where I want to be. This bitch is running for her life.
Wow.
So I'm just saying, she does a hell of a job. You know what I mean? A hell of a job. And she's very mindful about how she portrays the characters. Yes. And I said, I hope baby has a good therapist, because there's no way I could dive that deep and be okay. And be okay. You know what I'm saying?
Stay there for that long for filming.
Yes. But baby played the hell. Zendaya, you get all the things. You get the Oscar, the Tony, the Grammy. You get the NAACP, Soul Train.
Source Award.
You get it all. Just have it. Just take it, because you acted your ass off, lad. Woo, baby, you acted your ass off.
I'm going to have to go see it.
You have to. It was good. So Color Purple is coming to a theater near you, the musical. So they're taking with the Broadway show and bringing it to screen. So at first I was like, why? Because no shade, but at first I was like, oh, Taraji P. Henson is playing Suge. Okay, is this a Tyler Perry production? And I love Taraji. No shade. No shade. But it's just like, why is she in the Color Purple? I just didn't understand it. It just didn't make sense. And then it started to make sense when I saw Fantasia and Danielle Brooks, who you may know was in Color Purple at one point. Fantasia was too. Danielle Brooks was also on Orange is the New Black. Then Coleman Domingo, he's actually in Euphoria too.
Oh, okay.
Haley Bailey from Chloe and Haley. I think she's going to play Squeak by the sounds of it. Corey Hawkins, who played Dr. Dre and
Oh, okay.
and Straight
Yeah.
Outta Compton, and then her, and of course Taraji P. Henson. So I'm looking forward to it now. So check it out. And
Interesting.
yes, Rihanna is pregnant, so congrats to
Yes.
her.
And her
I
full
still
baby
don't.
bump.
Yes, I still don't rock with her baby daddy, but that's her business. It's not mine. Because remember, he wasn't trying to hear about Ferguson and stuff because he was partying in Beverly Hills and lived in Manhattan, so he don't know nothing about that life, and that's why his ass was locked up. And when people was like, "Oh, y'all need to sign these petitions for them to let A$AP Rocky out overseas," I was like, "A bitch don't know him.
Oh, that's
I'm not familiar
right.
with all of that." So, and I find it weird because I'm like, she's very charitable, and this man is just like, fuck the black population. So I just don't understand it. But hey, if she likes it, I will tolerate it.
I will tolerate it. Not you like it, I love it. I will tolerate.
Right. So that's that. And then just one last thing before we go to break. Kanye, please take us out the group chat. You'll probably never hear this, but I don't want to be in a group chat anymore. Can you put I just don't. Can you take me out? Because I don't. No. I don't want it
now. What's he done now? Because I can't. I just don't. I just kind of stopped.
The latest was he did a meme, and I don't know if he created the meme or somebody else did, but it was a meme of the Avengers. If you ever seen the Avengers poster for the Civil War, it literally was like Kanye and like Travis Scott and like Kylie Jenner and like some other people on his team and the girlfriend he's dating on one side, and then it was like Kanye, it was like Kim and Pete and Kid Cudi and some other people on the other side. And I'm just like,
what?
I can't. Like every other day he's tagging people, adding them to his post. He's not dealing with Kid Cudi. So
are you not entertained? This is very entertaining, apparently, in his mind.
I want to be out the group chat. I don't want it. I don't want it anymore. He's mad at Kid Cudi and told the world, which who would have known if you didn't tell us that you weren't putting Kid Cudi on Donda 2. And the reason why you're not putting Kid Cudi on Donda 2 is because he's very good friends with Pete Davidson, who's dating your ex-wife. If this isn't some narcissistic bullshit,
wow.
You're out here dating two girls. One who actually is a Kim K prototype. She looks just like Kim Kardashian. Like if you would have to do a double take. So you're dating two women, and this woman is dating Pete Davidson, and you mad? I don't get it. And is mad at Kid Cudi for staying with a friend who helped him when he was depressed and put him into contact with some very good therapists and helped him get himself together. So you're mad that he's staying loyal to someone who actually looked out for him when he was at his lowest? What is going on in this world? Take me out the group chat, Kanye.
Kanye, I need you to get some help.
Right. Because Kim took herself out the group chat.
She really did. She's like, I'm out.
She said her piece and rolled.
She took herself out and blocked the chat. Don't add me back.
No.
Don't add me back.
But he don't want to do it. And we don't care. And here's the thing that pisses me off, and then we'll go into break. You didn't give a shit about black people, black Twitter, black Instagram, black Facebook. You don't care about us. Now that this white woman done moved on and left your ass, now you want the black delegation to come back on your team. I don't think so. You like the MAGA people. You stay with the MAGA people. You OJ 2022, you over there. I don't have no sympathy for you. I don't care. I don't want to be involved. And the
situation of your own making, sir.
Hello. And the fact that you actually are sitting here having me defend Kim Kardashian is an affront to me. It upsets me and my homegirls, okay? Because I've never defended her. And the fact that I'm like, wow, I see why she
divorced hard in the
you.
paint, too, for Kim at this point, so you know.
Yes, I'm like, wow, you really were dealing with a lot, sis. Like this man is crazy. And then for her to come out with this very classy clapback, very classy, just please respond to the third attorney that you didn't hire to handle our divorce.
This is growth. This is growth.
I just need you to do that so we can move on amicably and peacefully.
Right.
And you still out here calling Pete Skeet, talking about you going to roll up to SNL with 100 goons. Where are we? I hate it here. I hate it here. I hate it here. I do.
Wait, what? He's rolling up on SNL?
Yes.
Wow.
So let's just go to break and
All
we'll
right.
come back. And we are back. So today's topic is accountability. Who gonna check me, boo?
Hello.
And Kanye, as we just discussed, he take a lot of accountability for what's going on in his life. But when you're personally accountable, you take ownership of what happens as a result of your choices and your actions, right? You don't blame others. You don't make excuses. You do what you can to make amends when things go wrong. Here's the thing. A lot of us misuse the word accountability, okay?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people use it interchangeably with responsibility or saying sorry for their actions or for how someone else may feel or how expectations may be placed on the offender to reconcile. But you have to understand that accountability is more about why did this happen? What was the thought process behind this? Did you learn anything from it? And if so, what? Right? So accountability will involve empathy. It would involve responsibility, which is a key word here. Humility and growth. Accountability is never comfortable. It's difficult, right? Because it's difficult if it's done on a public platform or within a community. Because if you call someone out who's done something objectively wrong as a way to kind of hold them to a higher standard in hopes that they're going to fix their mistakes, it can be seen as a little bit messy and it may be taken as a personal attack. So, for example, if you people wanted Dave Chappelle to take accountability for some of the things that he said regarding the LGBTQIA community. And he took it as a personal affront, an attack on him. So, of course, if he feels like he's being attacked, he's not going to take accountability. There are times, though, that, we try to make people take accountability for things that you're like, well, why do I need to take accountability for that? Right. Case in point, very recently, it was the Brit Awards, I think. And the Brit Awards have done this thing where they're calling everything gender neutral. So it's not best female artist, best male artist, just best artist, blah, blah, blah. So Adele won an award. And she's like, I know that they've changed the name to this or whatever, but I'm so proud to be a female. I love being a woman, blah, blah, blah. And there were some people that came out and was like, oh my God. I didn't know that Adele was, saying that. Why would she do that? It was members from the LGBTQI community saying that she is neglecting trans women and
but she's a woman.
I'm just telling you. Yes, I'm telling you.
I can be proud. You can be proud to be, and I work in the LGBTQ community. And it's definitely integral into what I do every day in my workplace and everything. And that even with them, sometimes I have a trans friend, and we've talked about how the false uproar of things. And she's like, it's too much. And now cis folks are like, we don't have time for you because now we can't be who we want to be.
Right.
Because you're attacking us for who we are as cis.
Right.
And I can't be a proud cis woman or a proud woman without saying cis, without offending someone in LGBTQI arena. But you want to make sure that I address you as such. Well, address me as such. I'm a woman. I don't want to necessarily. What if I don't want to say I'm a cis woman?
Right.
I would just want to say I'm proud to be a woman, and you're proud to be trans. You're proud to be whatever you are in that regard. Then why is it? It's not mutually exclusive.
No,
I should be able to do what I want to do too, right?
Right. And there's a term that they use for it, and I can't remember what it is. It's an anagram, and they attributed that also to J.K. Rowling, which what J.K. Rowling said and what Adele said aren't the same, but
at all.
Again, they're trying to get her to take accountability for that. And that's what I'm saying. It's hard to hold others and yourself responsible for things, but we also need to understand that we can't put certain things people don't need to be accountable for, because that is just your perception and your reality. Right. But that isn't what is really going on in the situation. So, but when we do talk about accountability, it does take courage, it takes work, it takes humiliation, it takes emotional intelligence, it takes insightfulness, and it takes some empathy, like we said before. So if you want to look at it like we're talking about accountability at this high level. But if you want to look at it on a granular level, right? What does accountability mean? 101. We can use this broken egg example. So you broke an egg. If you say, "Oh, I meant well," that is not accountability. I meant well is not accountability. Oh, well, that was not my intent. How many times have you heard somebody apologize to something for you? It's like, well, that wasn't my intent.
But what's the impact?
Right. That is not exactly. That is not accountability. Accountability is I broke the egg.
Yes.
Period. I hurt your feelings. Period. I cheated on you. Period. I stole your man. Period. It's just I'm just using these outlandish examples for people to understand, right?
They're not really that outlandish in these days.
It really isn't. Good morning, hello. Then there's situations where you have individual accountability, but then you have collective accountability, right? Mm-hmm. And we find a collective accountability as one of those situations where it's easy to shift blame. You're in a group of people, right? And you see your two friends are arguing, let's say, and one of your friends is dead wrong, but nobody wants to stand up and challenge that friend for being dead wrong. So you all fall back and let that friend basically attack the other friend, and no one says anything. Mm-hmm. There's a lack of accountability there, and that friend gets hurt, their feelings get hurt, and then it's just like, well, I ain't saying nothing because you should have said something. Well, I ain't saying nothing because that's not my business. Like, that's when we have situations where accountability is lacking. Or in a more serious situation, we've seen situations where a woman is in a precarious situation. We saw this, I think it was in Pittsburgh, where this girl gets raped. Mm-hmm. There were people around, there were people videotaping and stuff like that. And no one thought to call the police. No one thought to help this woman out. No one thought to do anything. Everybody wanted to shift the blame on everybody else and not take accountability for their part and their role in the situation. And again, we think that we do misuse the word accountability a lot. Some people think being accountable is just apologizing.
No.
That's not it. Some people think it requires action to amend the offense. That's not really it. So you have to understand the difference between accountability and apologizing, and look at it as owning your actions and atoning for your mistakes. Accountability,
it's the atonement part,
yes,
that gets people they think that it's the miscommunication or misuse,
right?
Or they forget the atonement part, which is why they use them interchangeably.
Right. And accountability, it can stand alone, but it generally is in connection with other things, right? It's accountability plus some other action. So it's like, I did this, I'm wrong, and I will change. Mm-hmm. Like, I broke the egg, I'm sorry, it won't happen again.
And then I'll clean it up.
Right. Or I'll clean it up.
And maybe replace it.
Right.
If it was yours.
Right.
Maybe.
Right. Maybe. And those are simple things. When we're talking about accountability, when we're talking about relationships and friends, and it's a little harder, right?
Yeah.
Because you could say, or in your partner, right? If your partner cheats on you, you want them to be accountable and say, I cheated.
Take ownership. Own their action for what they need to be accountable for.
I cheated on you.
Right. And now you need to atone.
I'm sorry. Sometimes it's not, I will do this. What can I do to gain your trust again?
Yes.
Some people stop at, I cheated, and think that that's enough.
And leave it at that and be like, and?
Right. Okay.
And it's like, I took accountability, and what? Now you want me to do something. And there's that expectation which may be placed on the other person. Like, you're supposed to do something now to make me feel better because you did X, Y, and Z. And that person's like, I mean, I could do that if I want, but I took accountability because I said I did it.
Right. And some people stop there. Some people literally stop at, I took accountability for it. There are people who say, I'm going to take accountability for it, but I'm not apologizing for it.
Yes.
I did that to you, but I'm not apologizing to you for it. And I think sometimes people think that when people take accountability, that there should be a lot of remorse attached to it. And some people don't have remorse for doing something. Like, I did it.
And?
Yeah, I fucked you, man.
Right.
They took
I took
accountability.
accountability, but I'm not sorry I did. So, but I was accountable.
Right.
You know. So, yeah,
So,
that's true.
you have to look at it that way. And then
It's
we
in
can take,
phases.
yes, and we do take accountability in different parts of our lives.
Definitely, because you have to look at all the areas once you understand what accountability actually does mean. And one of the big places that we definitely have to take it outside of relationships is work. And who's accountable? You have your boss, you have your supervisors, your team leads, and then as an employee, you have your own accountability. And part of that is knowing your role and understanding what your contribution should be and understanding what your expectations are, so that you don't overcommit or undercommit and just what is it, overcommit, underdeliver? Is that how it goes? Or be an overachiever in the sense that you're trying to just checklist all the things that you're trying to do just to sound like you're complaining. There's people that are like, oh my gosh, I have so much work to do. I have this, and this. Anybody ask you all that? You're at work. Okay, so you chose to take those projects on. Be accountable for the tasks that are associated with them accordingly, and the expectations that your job may have of you. But also being accountable can help you plan when you're planning. So using your time wisely, using your calendar. And then some people may think, when you're putting off responsibility onto your team members or your subordinates, some may call that delegating. But but there are some that may say you're not taking accountability.
Yeah, those are facts.
For what you're supposed to be doing. Or you may not give over responsibility to other folks so that they can help you execute your vision or what have you. But those clear expectations, no matter what you decide to do, need to be clear, and then adjust your own expectations, and don't have a whole world going on in your head of something that has happened, that has not happened, that you think you need to be accountable for, or you think other people should be accountable for, but you made that up in your head and have not communicated that to that person. So that person doesn't know the level of expectation that they should be adhering to, that you're expecting them to be accountable for.
Being accountable at work is tricky, and it's a fine line that you, especially depending on where you are in your career, and depending on who you are in your career, accountability can be tricky. I will say the government tries to make you be sometimes accountable for everything. If you work for the government, you have a position description, which we call a PD. And sometimes in the PD, it says other duties as assigned.
Sometimes that means somebody else's whole entire job.
Exactly. And I will say those are facts. Those are facts. But you should understand that there is a fine line where you can be like, I understand this, but this somebody else needs to be accountable for this, because this is not within my wheelhouse. Yeah. And it's okay to say that. I think a lot of times we take, like you said, we take accountability for things that we really shouldn't take accountability for at work, because we just don't know how to set those clear boundaries. And yes, if you're an employee, you're not a supervisor, you're not a boss, there are ways to set clear boundaries without being disrespectful to your boss or your supervisor or your manager. And if you feel as though that is not working, then hopefully you have a union or some type of representation there that you can go to and be like, look, I'm being accountable for my shit, but I need these other people to be accountable for their shit. I can't take on their stuff and my stuff. But also, I feel like people also need to be accountable to themselves in the workplace and understand, like, I feel like, for example, there are people who get passed over for jobs all the time. Yeah. And they make all these other excuses except for taking accountability for the fact that they just didn't do enough. They're not the type of employee that should be, at this particular junction, they're not the employee that is needed and necessary for that job.
Correct. And that person may not see that.
Right. I remember that there was a situation in my job where this person was making a big uproar because they did not get a position. They filed a claim against the library. They did all this stuff. And I was looking back like, but do you know the type of employee that you are? You are subpar at best. You are average on your best day. You understand what I'm saying? You are
Basic.
basic
Basic.
on your best day, and on your worst day, Lord have mercy. Take accountability for the type of employee you are, and stop trying to say that you didn't get these opportunities or
Because
access
of.
to these opportunities because of other people. No, it's because of
Mm-hmm.
you, boo.
That is so true. Oh my, like there's so many areas when people just push off other things in their life situation
All the time.
all the time. Be like,
All the time.
I'm so sick of these people doing X, Y, and Z, and I can't stand these people doing this stuff to me. I'm like, well, what's your role in it?
Right. What did you do?
Well,
Oh, yeah.
I can't do that's not the point.
Right.
Well, but it
It
is
is, but it is.
because
Oh,
you're the common denominator.
right. I don't. Accountability at work is one of those things. I just be like, I understand who I am and the type of employee that I am and the type of things that I bring to the table. I understand that. If there are areas that I need to improve on, I'll improve on that. And I take accountability for, yeah, I didn't do
Mm-hmm.
that right. I didn't. It's people who just don't have a lack of accountability at all. And I'm like, if you have a lack of accountability in your work life, what does your accountability look like in your relationships? Right?
Look here.
Because when we're talking about relationships and taking accountability, woof, it's learning how to hold yourself accountable, but also learning how to hold someone else accountable in that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes back to setting boundaries. Like, being accountable in a relationship means acknowledging the effects of your behaviors. Listen to this. Being accountable in a relationship means acknowledging the effects your behaviors have on a person and owning how you contribute to the negative cycle. That's for you. A lot of people don't want to do that. A lot of people like to point the finger at other people and say, you need to take accountability for X, Y, and
Yes.
Z. One of the things that I've learned is in any relationship, friendship, romantic family. If somebody's always pointing the finger at you, that's because they don't know how to stop and self-reflect, and they're actually projecting what they feel, which is a lot of guilt and shame, which we'll get into, on you, that they feel within themselves.
They may not be aware of it though.
No, they may not.
They're not in touch with
haven't
what's
done the work.
causing them to do all
Right.
that. Right.
Haven't done the work.
They haven't done the work.
I think that when we're talking about relationships, sometimes it's more about focusing how you can take accountability for yourself, because you can't force someone else to take accountability for their actions. You just can't. And if you try, right, you're going to be bumping your head against a brick wall. You cannot force someone to take accountability for something. They have to want to take it for themselves. So you have to look at a situation and determine, where is my accountability in all this? The way you do that is you say, don't make excuses. I'm not going to make excuses for that. I told my friends that I would go on this trip, and they were counting me to go on this trip because of the price. With me coming, it put it down $300. Okay, so now everybody is about to go on this trip, and I know I couldn't go when I made the decision because I didn't have the money. But now I'm making up all these excuses. I just, all this, and now everything is out of whack because I just couldn't be accountable and say, look, I don't have it. I can't go. You make all these other excuses. Oh, the dog got sick. I got hit by a car and my leg is broke. Oh, the weather, my
arthritis.
Right. Mercury's in retrograde. It's not safe for me to travel. Just say, I dropped the ball. I couldn't afford it. I should have told y'all from the beginning, and that's that.
Yeah.
Which is, to do that, you have to be honest. You got to be honest with the person and yourself. Be honest. You know what I mean? That's hard. Being honest. People think being honest is easy. It is not, because we've been trained from young to lie.
We have. Can we talk about that? That's another episode. How we've been trained to lie.
We have.
I mean, there's like good ways, and like you shouldn't lie, but sometimes you could lie. But I don't think we're ever taught clearly when those situations should be.
Right.
It's fuzzy. It's a lot of fuzzy, blurred lines.
And I see this because there's a way for children to be honest without it being disrespectful, right? If a child doesn't it's just like, I don't want to hug Auntie Jane. That's their honesty. Let them have that, and don't force them to do something that they don't want to do. You know what I'm saying? If they talking to somebody and they say, your breath stinks, is it rude to say that? If the person's breath stink, no, it's not. I mean,
there's different ways to go about it.
Right. But children, they're just pure. They just say whatever is on their mind. Now, you could teach them. That's not the politest way to do it. Maybe say, would you like a mint? Would you like a piece of gum? Would you like to put your hand over your mouth because your breath is accosting me at this moment? I don't know.
Those hairs have been singed.
I don't know, right? But we will talk about how honesty is something that is not learned a lot. We teach lying at a very young age.
Early.
Learn how to apologize the right way. Woo!
This one alone. Because some people, they apologize.
If you're not giving me an apology that stops at the period, if you're not giving me an apology that ends with a period, if you're giving me an apology that is followed by a comma, I am a semicolon, the only thing I need is a period at the end. And sometimes an explanation point.
Yes.
But I don't need no question marks, no commas, no semicolons, no colons. No dash, period. Okay? If you add a caveat to your apologies with the words but or if, then what are you doing?
Please don't. Because then at that point, and then some people use that because they're like, but I apologized.
But I took accountability.
And I took accountability. I said, yeah, but you can't say, I'm sorry, but I had to do it. Okay.
Or just not even that. You can't say, I take accountability, but I cheated on you, but you wasn't giving me no ass and I had to get it elsewhere.
Right. That doesn't make it
work. I'm just saying that doesn't add. Or, you crash into somebody while you're driving. Yeah, I crashed my car into you, but you wasn't really driving the way you should have been driving in the first place. What? What are you taking accountability for then? You have to take accountability and say, I wronged you. Yes. I am sorry. What can I do to make amends?
Exactly.
That is how it all bundles up into a nice ball of accountability.
Please and thank you.
Thank you. If your relationships are faltering, I know some people that needed to do this a very long time ago. If your relationships are faltering, be open to seeing how you are contributing to and even exasperating the challenges and conflicts. There are people right now who don't realize that the reason why their relationships are strained is because of them.
Yeah, that is true.
It's because of who they are.
That's because they haven't done the work.
Right. If all your friends are still in communication with each other quite frequently and you're the only one that don't talk to everybody all the time, maybe you the problem.
Maybe
you the problem.
Perhaps. It may be time for self-reflection.
Hey, if the shoe is fitting, you wear it. If it sounds like I'm shouting fires, book.
Shots fired.
I'm just saying. Because there are people who probably are listening to this that don't even understand that concept. If you're the family member that don't ever get invited nowhere, you the problem.
Think about it. Sit there and think about why at Thanksgiving this year you did not get invited.
Right.
Or by yourself. Or someone put you at the kid table and then invite you to the adult table.
If you get kicked out the group chat, why?
Sometimes that is the case, but sometimes not.
Well, sometimes not, right? But
sometimes
I'm just saying.
That is true. That is true, but you really got to sit and reflect.
You do. And it's hard for people. Yes, and it's hard for people to do that because sometimes self-reflection equals guilt or shame or both. And people don't like to deal with that. So they just don't deal with it. It's in hard discussions, try to see and understand the other person's perspective, even if you Vietnamese.
Vehemently.
If you Vietnamese disagree.
Oh my goodness.
So
take a time out.
Right. Look, There are times we've been there. We've been in heated arguments with somebody. But sometimes you do have to take a step back. Our friend Bridget said one time something that I really like. Why don't you take a minute to reflect instead of react? Or why do you react instead of reflecting? It's something she said.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is true. A lot of times we react before we take a beat and reflect on what that person is saying and how our behaviors are contributing to whatever the situation is.
Right.
A lot of times we're on the defense. We're
listening to respond. We're not listening to hear.
Exactly. One of the things that I definitely have learned over the past few years is to listen, pause, and then respond. Mm-hmm. Sometimes that requires me to leave the situation and come back.
Yeah, that is true.
My husband and I have started to employ this thing. If we're in a disagreement and if it's like going off the rails, we'll say, let's put a pin in it. It's usually me. I'm going to put a pin in this. Let's put a pin in this and we'll come back. Because I can't, no.
Sometimes you need a safe word when things are getting too heated.
Yes.
And you'd be like, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Whatever it is. I was watching, this is funny that you said that. I was watching an episode of Queer Eye. And this mother and daughter were having challenges, communicating, and their relationship was really strained. And Karamo came in, and he's supposed to be the life coach, and he talked to the mother and daughter, and their safe word was Karamo. So when they would get into disagreements, if things were starting to go left, they would say, Karamo, and that means we got to take a time out. And you may have to do that just to kind of circle back, because sometimes you do need to understand that person's perspective before you... And you might disagree. And here's the thing we need to understand. I can disagree with you, but still understand your perspective. I understand why you think that way. I just don't agree. And I just don't want to know.
I think it's hard for that nowadays, because if you disagree, and like I'm trying to be held accountable the way I think you should be held accountable in this way. I disagree with you, and now you can't disagree with anything because now you're going to get canceled because you didn't take accountability. It's just not being able to say, you know what, I don't think I really need to do this. I don't want to be accountable. It's not my fault. And taking ownership of it. Sometimes folks just, they don't see the significance of how it can impact.
No, I think if we as people just take a foundational level, whatever principles you believe in, if it's the Bible, if it's the Quran, whatever basic principles, you should just live by those basic principles and hold everybody accountable to those basic principles. It's when we start to think that we need to elevate our principles and people need to be held to other standards. Here's a case in point. A lot of y'all gonna disagree with me. I don't care. When it comes to abortion rights, I don't really feel that there should be a discussion on this. I don't even understand why we are discussing this. Stop trying to hold other people accountable for you and your perception. I feel like abortion should be a right that is available to anybody who wants it. If you aren't ever going to get an abortion, okay, then why do you care that somebody else is? Stop trying to hold other people accountable for your moral standards and your beliefs, because that child ain't going to be your responsibility. That person, and here's the thing, it will be your responsibility if that person has to get on welfare, has to use Medicaid. It's going to be your responsibility because it's coming out of your tax dollars. There's certain things that I just think we try to hold people want people to be held accountable to these standards that we've set that are bullshit.
Yeah.
It's just bullshit.
I just don't understand why they're litigating the vajayjay.
Stay your ass. Well, I was about to just mind your business. What goes on in my vagina, in my house,
is my business.
It's not yours.
Unless I choose to share.
Right. I don't come up in your house. What's his name? Mitch McConnell. I don't talk about what's in your closet. You in the black book of a lot of So let's all mind our business, okay?
Just mind your business.
Act on situations, don't react. I think that that's key. A lot of times, and that's what I said, reflect before you react. it's a lot of times we just like to go on the defensive because defensiveness is a reaction. It's innate. Oh, you
Mm-hmm.
coming at me, I'm coming at you. But if we just take the time to just sigh.
But that's also something I think that needs to be learned, because if your
Yeah,
environment is reaction based,
yeah, yeah,
because think about it, if you're reaction based because of your environment and you're in survivor mode,
yeah,
you're going to react. Whereas if you're in another environment, which is nurturing and calming, you can take a beat. But
yeah,
if you're already charged up because of your environment, you're
yeah.
not going to be able to take that. You may not be able to take that accountability at that time
Mm-hmm.
to not react.
That is a
But if
very
you're
good
in a
point.
different environment, because it's like, think about it. Anytime, like, if there's a brawl, it just started with two people, and then all of a sudden it has ballooned into other folks, and you're like, wait, what just? And I don't even know these people. It's just, you really got to think, you know, how's this going to affect?
Right.
What is the blowback?
You're right. You're right.
What is the
Um,
blowback?
being, understand who holds the power to determine what is considered accountable. There's a difference between taking accountability and holding yourself accountable. You need to be willing to forgive your partner and yourself. You telling your partner what you need from them to be accountable, right?
Mm,
Like, you need to tell your partner what you need for them to be accountable to you, right?
yeah.
I need this. This makes you accountable to me. When I do this, I am therefore accountable to you. That is, and when we don't do those things, we dishonor our
Mm-hmm.
vows, we dishonor our conversations or our agreements, and now we're
Mm-hmm.
here,
All right.
you know? And there's a caveat to all of this. It's not healthy. It's not helpful. And this is something you were alluding to take accountability for things or behaviors that you did not do or engage in. I
Right.
feel like they're in those unhealthy, toxic situations, friendships, relationships. A lot of times we take responsibility for shit just because we want that conversation to end.
Yeah.
We're
Oh, that's
tired of
good. Yeah.
arguing.
Yes. Yes. And
I'm
sometimes
exhausted.
that's not a bad thing though.
Sometimes it's not,
Sometimes.
but
Sometimes.
I would say this. As soon as somebody told me something that I always hold true, it was our friend Brandon. Brandon told me, as soon as you start doing something in a relationship, you do it one time, you're gonna have to keep doing it because the person is expecting it, right? And I feel
Yeah.
like as soon as you open that door, Pandora's box is going to open. And now every time somebody's gonna, if you're in a toxic situation, they're going to expect you to take accountability for shit that ain't even your fault. And
Yeah.
you have to kind of find a balance. Like, there's a difference between walking away from a conversation that just is
Mm-hmm.
dead, right?
Right.
This conversation is going nowhere, I'm done.
Correct.
There's a difference for taking accountability for shit that you just didn't do.
Correct.
And sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it gets very crazy. Like, and I'm not talking about little stuff. I'm talking about, you were disrespectful to me. What you said was disrespectful. All I said was, can you pass me the remote? How was that disrespectful? Because it's the tone. But I wasn't disrespectful.
Respectful.
And then there are some people who say, okay, I was disrespectful, but were you? No. So why are you taking accountability for that
Right.
behavior?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. A lot of that happens, unfortunately, in abusive relationships.
Yes, very much so.
And the excuses are made. You're like, well, I made this person upset. I did whatever. I get why they did it. I should have done X, Y, and Z. And you think you're taking accountability for the situation, but you have no business taking accountability for it because you didn't do anything to egregious to that other person or party to warrant that behavior. You didn't do it. The other person did, but you taking ownership of it.
And that's the problem.
It's hard. And then when you do that, you have to think and look to say, how do I take accountability of myself in this situation like we were talking about? So self-accountability, also known as personal accountability, is a way of living in which you really take responsibility for your actions and your life, and you're supposed to learn from your mistakes and acknowledge them, and quickly recover from the impulse, like we were talking about, to just blame everybody, or ignore the problems and hide from your own shortcomings. You really got to check yourself. Who gonna check me, boo? Me. I'm gonna check me. I'm gonna check myself. Recognize how you're being toxic to others in the sense of what we were just talking about, when you're projecting on someone else and you're not taking ownership for what your role in that was. Look at where you feel, this is a good one. Look at where you feel most hurt in your life and figure out why is that? And can I figure out how to heal that so that I don't have this behavior toward other folks? Because it's a negative impact on others as well as myself. But I really need to take a look in the mirror and figure out what am I doing here? Stop in your tracks. Like I said, how are you contributing? Look in the mirror. What I do? I need to get my shit together. What did I do for this? And definitely make good choices. Don't blame others for your poor choices.
Make good choices.
Make good choices. And then when you lack accountability for yourself, you prevent yourself from moving forward. You get stuck. And then that's why you may be out the group chat because you don't want to be accountable. And you haven't figured out why nobody wants to talk to you no more, because you haven't taken accountability for your actions to help you move forward to look at it. And of course, we all know that leads to loneliness and poor choices. And then the loss of opportunities. And then, the chipping away of a relationship, whatever that may be, work, family, romantic, and whatnot. So you really have to sit and think, how am I contributing to this situation? And I think that will help with most anything because it starts with you and how you're contributing and showing up in all of the other relationships. You have to look at yours first because you got to live with yourself first. Unless you're trying to project on other people, but then you got to look at why are you doing that? Take accountability for how you treat yourself, how you take care of yourself. Are you talking to yourself? And how are you talking to yourself in the sense of self-speak? Right. And how you know what I'm saying? Because if you're getting up and saying, I am great, I am well, I am rested, I'm cute, I'm the bomb, that's take self-reflection. But then how do you complement that with what am I not doing right?
Right.
And how is it negatively affecting my circles?
Right.
So, but that, I don't know how else you look at accountability.
I think that's,
with your friends, your family, in relation to your community, and being mindful of what your actions can have an impact on.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people don't really take that into account.
They don't. I would say take this episode and stop and think about areas where you may lack some accountability and maybe come up with a plan on how you can be more accountable. And it could be you are accountable to everybody else but yourself. So how are you going to be more accountable to yourself, right? I say I'm going to lose this weight. How am I going to be more accountable to myself to do that? And how am I going to call myself out when I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing without feeling the guilt and the shame?
Right. To move past it, acknowledge it. That's a point and keep moving.
Yep.
But don't sit with it longer than you need to. And
right.
Keep moving,
right.
Which is definitely hard. So we're going to take a quick break and come back with our last sip of the day.
And we're back. So this is the last sip of tea with your Hood Dalai Lama. I am your Hood Dalai Lama. And this quote is going to be attributed to Bob Proctor, and it is, accountability is the glue that ties commitment to the results. Again, accountability is the glue that ties commitment to the results. And that is your last sip of tea with your Hood Dalai Lama.
Thank you. That was a good one. Thank you for joining us this week on Sippin' Tea with Nat and Z. You can follow us on Instagram at sippintea_Nat&Z_pod and on Facebook at Sippin' Tea Nat and Z to get information on upcoming podcasts, guests, and news. Thanks for listening and catch us next episode where we are going to get into guilt and shame. Have a good week, y'all.